Have you ever stopped to think about how, like, a really niche passion, something super specific, could actually be right on the edge of becoming, well, huge, maybe even global?
Yeah, or how these kind of unexpected links between different worlds can suddenly show you the hidden structure behind how new things actually take shape.
Exactly. And today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that kind of world. One you might not even know exists, honestly. We want to pull out those, surprising bits of knowledge that really define where it is now and maybe hint at where it's going.
That's right. Our focus today is this unique and surprisingly complex world of lightsaber spinning.
Right, lightsaber spinning. And we're not just talking about, swinging a cool prop around.
No, not at all. It's about a really vibrant community that's like actively building a new discipline right now as we speak.
And our way into this, it was pretty recent, wasn't it? We actually met Johnny BG.
Shaolin Kung Fu world champion. Incredible
Right.
guy.
He is. And he was the one who personally kind of opened the door for us, showed us this whole compelling world of lightsaber spinning.
Yeah, and after that conversation, we really went down the rabbit hole. We looked at a ton of sources, mostly videos actually, from this really lively community of creators.
What kind of stuff did we find?
All sorts, really detailed tutorials, flow artists just doing incredible sequences, and even, people who focus more on the dueling side of things with lightsabers.
Okay.
We looked specifically at stuff from Michelle Smith, Carly King, Johnny BG himself, obviously, and also Ludosport, just to name a few.
So we've got all these different perspectives, these different creators, which brings us to the core question, really. What does all this mean for a community that's trying to, like, figure itself out?
Mm-hmm.
What patterns start to show up when a hobby begins to find its shape?
Well, the first thing that jumps out, especially listening to Johnny BG with his martial arts background,
Yeah.
is that lightsaber spinning right now, it basically has zero standardization, like none.
Zero.
Wow.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And that immediately creates these fundamental questions for people involved. How do we define a move? How do we execute it the same way? What do we even call it? How do we share skills consistently?
You can see how that would be a problem. And you mentioned naming. Is that where the confusion really shows up? Could you give an example?
Oh, absolutely. A perfect example is the helicopter toss. Now, Johnny points out that in the color guard world, where they spin flags and rifles and stuff.
Right, similar props.
Exactly. They call a very similar move a parallel toss. But then some of Johnny's friends in the lightsaber community, they've already started calling that same helicopter toss something completely different.
Huh. So it's like everyone's inventing their own little language for it.
Precisely. It makes teaching, sharing, even just talking about it pretty tricky.
I can imagine. Is this naming issue, this sort of language barrier, does it pop up with other skills too?
Oh, yeah. It's not just the one move. It's quite clear with another skill called the OB Annie.
OB Annie. Okay.
Yeah. So Michelle Smith, who's a world champion baton twirler, she teaches this move. But even she says, oh, by the way, this is also known as the high-low whip.
Okay, so two names already from one expert.
Right. And then you have Johnny, coming from Shaolin Kung Fu. He also
Yeah.
teaches the OB Annie, calls it that. Or sometimes he calls it flourishing.
So that's potentially three names for the same basic action.
Exactly. It just really underlines the challenge. How do you build something solid, a real discipline, when the basic words aren't even agreed upon yet?
It really does sound like the Wild West, like you said, just total chaos in terms of terminology.
Mm-hmm.
So given this lack of standardization, this sort of freestyle approach, does Johnny offer a comparison? Like, what stage is this whole thing at?
He does, yeah. And it's a really insightful comparison, I think. He basically says lightsaber spinning right now is an infant discipline, or maybe just an infant hobby.
An infant? Okay.
Yeah, like skateboarding was way back in the 1950s. It's in those very first messy, formative stages.
That's a fantastic analogy. Skateboarding in the 50s?
Right.
And that infancy, that leads to what he calls the freestyle era. Is that it?
Exactly. It's this period defined by people coming from all sorts of different backgrounds and just bringing what they already know into lightsaber spinning.
So like Michelle Smith, you mentioned her baton twirling.
Right. She brings that specific expertise. Then you've got Carly King, another spinner we looked at. She has a martial arts background, and she's also teaching skills.
Okay.
But it's not just them. You see people with dance backgrounds, tricking, like flips and kicks.
Right.
All sorts of movement disciplines contributing to how it's evolving. It's a real melting pot.
And the crucial part there is that it's the community doing this, right? It's not like some official body dictating things. It's bottom up.
Totally. It's organic, which again mirrors that early skateboarding journey almost perfectly.
How so? Tell us more about that parallel.
Well, skateboarding also started with, zero formal rules or standards. It was just kids messing around, figuring stuff out on their boards.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is how that freestyle era eventually started to structure itself bit by bit.
Okay, how did that happen?
A key figure was Rodney Mullen. People often call him the godfather of skateboarding.
Right, I know the name.
He was just incredibly inventive and was crucial in creating a lot of the foundational tricks that everyone then learned, like the ollie flip, which basically everyone now just calls the kick flip.
Ah, okay. He invented the kickflip, essentially.
He was instrumental, yeah. And as skateboarding got bigger, you started seeing events, actual competitions, and suddenly there was a real need for clear criteria for judging, for standardizing the tricks.
Right.
And that led to the professional era, Tony Hawk and all that.
That makes perfect sense. So drawing that parallel, what does Johnny suggest needs to happen for lightsaber spinning if it wants to keep growing?
Well, following that logic, Johnny thinks standardization is going to be pretty essential as it evolves.
Right, you need that common language we talked about.
Exactly. And that could very well lead to setting up formal competitions, just like skateboarding did, and maybe, crucially, developing what you might call a default set of skills.
A default set, like the basics everyone agrees on.
Yeah, the foundational moves that everyone learns, recognizes, and can then build on with their own style.
Okay, that seems like a logical path forward for growth. But it does raise a point.
Yeah.
Some of these spinning moves, they can look a bit like fighting techniques, can't they?
I can, yes.
So how do we draw the line between lightsaber spinning and lightsaber combat? Are they the same thing?
That's a really good question and an important distinction. They're generally considered separate. Lightsaber spinning is not the same as lightsaber combat or dueling.
Okay.
Now, spinning can definitely borrow or incorporate techniques that look like combat moves, maybe for visual flair or flow.
Right, for the aesthetic?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the core discipline is different. There are actually specific organizations out there like Saber Legion, Ludo Sport, the Seven Forms Saber Academy. Their whole focus is on the combat side, the dueling. That's treated as its own thing, separate from spinning.
Got it. So beyond just the practical stuff like standardizing moves, there seems to be a deeper philosophy here, doesn't there, about how these things grow. You mentioned Rodney Mullen again.
Yes. He had this really profound insight that just perfectly captures the spirit of what seems to be happening with lightsaber spinning right now.
What did he say?
It's such a powerful idea. Mullen basically talked about the intrinsic value of just creating something for its own sake. Because you love it.
Okay.
And then the crucial part, sharing it generically with your community, letting other people, maybe younger people, maybe people with different talents, take that thing you started and push it to levels you couldn't even have imagined yourself. It's about that collaborative, almost open source evolution.
Wow. That's a really beautiful way to think about creativity and community.
Isn't it? It really resonated.
So when we step back and look at this whole deep dive into lightsaber spinning,
Yeah.
what's the big takeaway here? It's clearly more than just, people having fun with glowing sticks.
Definitely. I think it's a fantastic living example of how human creativity and that community spirit can forge completely new paths. It shows how you can take a hobby, something playful, and see it grow right to the verge of becoming a recognized discipline.
Yeah, we've traced that journey, haven't we? From that kind of Wild West phase with naming confusion, all the way to seeing these really clear parallels with something established like skateboarding. You really get a glimpse into the organic growth of a unique art form.
Absolutely.
So as you're thinking about all this, what other things out there right now, maybe emerging cultural trends or niche activities, are kind of in their own infancy?
Yeah, things that might just be in their freestyle era, maybe just a few steps away from developing their own default set of skills, their own structure, and maybe becoming the next big thing.
What can watching lightsaber spinning's journey really teach us about how creativity and community and that drive for mastery, how those things actually evolve in the real world? Something to think about. Stay curious, everyone, and we'll connect again for the next deep dive into the fascinating world around us.